Make sure you introduce yourselves, because, you know, so we get your name and everything.
I'm Jasmine Hailey.
I'm Jasmine Hailey, and tonight we're going to talk about Beyond the Concrete, Black Women and Domestic Violence. Domestic violence and abuse are prevalent in heterosexual relationships in Black communities. This mainly has to do with the psychological traumas that individuals in the Black community endure. Survival skills and treatment facilities serve as safe havens for both men and women. The range of abuses are from mental and emotional to verbal and physical. Unfortunately, in most cases, the physical altercations are unreported, causing victims of domestic abuse to have greater depression and need more resources and support. Black women are grossly labeled as welfare junkies and overgeneralized drug addicts as portrayed in mass media. There are many organizations that already exist, having a similar mission, statement, or purpose, although the staggeringly high rate at which women are abused supersedes the adequate funds available, resources available, to protect all the victims and their children, including the dependents. A primary issue in getting proper and adequate treatment for Black female abuse victims is the Black people as a whole do not trust their white counselors. Most of the treatment out there is done by white mental health professionals and European-based psychological treatments. Many of the healthcare professionals, doctors, and therapists are white or male, making Black women feel even more skeptical of their paradigms or their frame of reference. If a victim cannot trust their therapist or counselor and believes that they can't share their story openly and freely, then there's no way for the program or for that treatment to be effective. The need for shelters and domestic violence and safe places in the Black community are vital. And the neighborhood must provide social services, support services, for women's health issues and children's needs, specifically in health, education, and finances, because I've noticed that in Black communities, in neighborhoods, the mothers, they have the welfare system as a crutch, and instead of going to welfare work programs and actually working the program, they take it as an excuse for not working. That's what I've noticed in my research. And also, another part of it is that the more the community reaches out to the women and makes them feel comfortable and at ease to share, then they will be more open to the treatment and to the help that is out there for them, the resources. And now Jennifer will start.
Okay, so I made an outline, I already passed it, but I mean, like, I made like a spider, like, plan thing for the outline, and so basically, you know, the women, they're, you know, the Black women, they're like sort of like debt slaves, and like, cause you notice like in South Central LA, like, well, that's basically virtually everybody, that we're all pretty much debt slaves, and now we're like, you know, basically trying to outrun this astronomical debt that we have accumulated, you know, throughout our lives and stuff. And it's compounded with being, you know, in sort of like a concrete desert, you know, like when there are virtually little to none resources out there are available for, you know, people who are of, you know, African American descent. And so basically, you know, you just have all these certain institutions that are around the person, like say, like you know, like salon places, you know, like these institutions that cater to young women, young African American women, and women that are middle-aged and stuff, like sort of like work source and stuff like that. You know, there's poverty. Poverty is at all-time high in terms of, like, you know, Black people, period, because we don't have the certain resources that are, you know, at our grasp. So it's like you know, you have to go sort of, you know, sort of far and wide a little bit there to go and get these things. That's the truth. And, you know, like some people, like a lot of people, they're on welfare, you know, like, and some people, they need to get, like, you know, food stamps and stuff like that to, you know, to get the resources and to get paid and stuff. What else? Oh yeah, what's her name? Oh yeah, Ashanti. She made a song called Concrete Rose, because she was saying, like, some, like the black people, like especially, they grew up around all this, hard stuff, and they sort of like carved and formed their own lives, like, so that's what makes them, like, sort of strong as well. But it's like Rose is also like, because they're formed, they're beautiful and stuff. So it's like, when you think of hip hop, you think about this person that came out of like, poverty, like, gang violence is like, nearby and stuff, even though they're not, involved in it. And so it's like, that's what hip hop is, but like, R&B is like, it's smooth. And so it's just like, it talks about the essence of that person, like their soul. And so that's why it's called Concrete Rose. And then, what's the name? Tupac, he also made a poem named A Rose That Grew from Concrete. And this woman, she was talking about on YouTube, she was going on and on about this, this person that was like, like how you have a scenario where it's like, whoa, that person came from that. And so it's just like, like you'd be surprised how, many people come from like these unfortunate circumstances. And, it's just like, they're like, they're a rose, they're a black rose, So, oh yeah, and our rights is as black people, like, they're being, infringed upon because, yeah, we live in a European suppressed society. So we really have to, struggle to be, all that we can be and stuff. And that's all I have to say about that. Yeah, I'm done.
These are our resources. So we're going to pass them around, and we'll pass the board around so you can put it together. Thank you.
Okay, so we have, a little bit of Q&A. So does anyone have questions for them?
Could you raise your hand for me?
Yes, you know.
Could you raise your hand,
So,
please?
you guys overall program or?
The program is called Beyond the Concrete. It's domestic violence against black women. So we provide financial support, shelters, and education for the children if they have dependents. And I modeled it after another organization that I've been working with. And so it's basically called Beyond the Concrete. And
Any other questions?
I heard earlier that you said that black women, they don't take advantage of the programs that welfare offer, and then you said that there's not enough resources out there for the black women to really be able to succeed. Like, is that so? You guys kind of have different opinions
well,
as far as that situation.
yeah, well, I feel like the resources are there, but they'll use them to an extent. They won't use them. They'll say, "Oh, I went to the program and I stayed in for a month, and then I got tired of it. I got tired of the rules, and I had to get out of the shelter." And that's kind of, to me, a cop-out. That's not a problem with the program. That's a problem with the individual. And having an attitude in the program is not going to treat you. It's not going to treat you properly. Now, I hear what she's saying. Yes, I agree that the resources are there, and then they choose not to use them. Now, that's another side of the domestic violence.
I think one of the issues that you mentioned in particular was that a lot of these domestic violence are run by men. And not only that, but Anglo-Saxon men. So for programs to be, truly successful would require, like you said, a black female, and a black female also to be the director instead of just, the mere workers. And I know a lot of people have, issues with Tyler Perry, but let's go to one of his movies. What was the name? What was? No, the one about the colored girl. This is for colored girls.
Oh,
Okay.
the program that she was running?
Yeah, the program that she was running. And I remember a character in that movie made a comment like, okay, you a sister too, you feel me. And that always stuck with me because there are domestic violence programs, but not a lot of them are run by females, regardless of color.
Right. That was what I wanted you to elaborate on a little bit, is because I remember you telling me about this idea, and I think it's fantastic. That there's lots of resources for domestic violence, but not focused on Black women. So, but what would make, besides you stating that it's focused on Black women, and besides even Black women being in charge, what would make this program? What would make Black women more likely to take advantage of the program that you're proposing? Like, are there going to be any sort of cultural differences in your approach?
Yeah, in our marketing, we would have our executive directors on the website. We'd have their picture. We'd have a small bio. We'd have something that not only they can relate to in a picture, but they can say, oh, I've been there. I've been on the streets before. I've been homeless. I've slept in my car. So when they're reading it, they're not only going to call, but they will go to that interview. They will go to that counselor that's referred to them, or they will go to that food bank and say, yes, I do need food. I'm here, just like the other girls in line. Yes, I need it too. So it'll help to take away that shame and that guilt, so that in order for them to get the help and support.
Okay.
I'd like to say I like that concept because one of the things that stop people is that you feel like you're going to be judged. So instead of being judged, you have someone that can relate.
Good. I think it's good. One thing that I would recommend for you to consider, I have a professor from, in case this is something you really want to pursue, I have a professor from LMU, Dr. Grills, who was here, and she started sort of a mental health intervention that was Afrocentric in nature. So for victims of drug abuse or for substance abuse, okay? And so, some of the things they did were when they would bring people in for their first meeting, they'd have a soul food dinner. There were elements
like
of sort of, African American culture and sort of Afrocentric thought. There were these other elements they would bring into the treatment to create more of kind of a holistic experience than just that kind of mind over matter. So, thinking about sort of healing practices in Black communities and sisterhood and, thinking about how maybe, so it's not only in the name of the program, but there's something intrinsically different about it. But good job.